Chapter 4. Perception and Idealism. What happens when you see an object? Light rays are transmitted from it to your retina. The object itself does not impinge on your eyes, only the rays. After that, vibrations or impulses travel up the optic nerve to the brain. What happens to the nerve during this passage of vibration? Rapid oscillation. The sensation reaches the brain. What happens next? The sensations are converted into ideas or images. What converts them? The mind. At this moment alone, not before, do you become aware of an object. Moreover, all you know of it is the idea or image which now registers in the mind. You see John. What have you done by seeing him? His picture has fallen on your retina. That picture is, say, half an inch long. He is 6 feet tall. Hence you did not see him, but the picture, and hence it is the mind which has seen him. It has formed an idea of John. When I compare my idea of John with John and form a judgment, I have only compared one idea with another idea. It is impossible to see John in himself. Hence the impossibility of accepting the correspondence theory of truth. The same applies to touching John and any of the other senses. It is the mind which really senses. Does the mind come directly in contact with John? No. Therefore it merely forms an idea of John. John is only an idea. Roughness, smoothness, etc. are qualities which cannot exist without a mind to perceive them. That is, they cannot exist unperceived. Therefore, the individual object to which these qualities belong cannot also exist unperceived. It is the mind that presents everything to us. Whatever is seen by the mind. The insoluble gap which exists for science between the physical sensation and the mental awareness of it disappears for the Vedantin, because on inquiry he finds that he never saw a physical sensation. It was really a mental sensation, an idea in the mind which you may easily copy into a second similar idea. The image's impression is carried by the optic nerve to the brain. Cut off this nerve and man sees nothing. This proves the nerve is necessary to communication. How? It vibrates and sets up these vibrations in the brain. Science has to stop at this point. It cannot explain. Nobody knows how this vibration is converted into idea. The mind constructs from these vibrations an image. This establishes beyond all doubt that it is the mind that constructs the image, the picture. Thus, idealism is irrefutably proved. What is the original stimulus for the vibration? The mind asking itself this question can only answer itself by inferring or assuming an object outside. But never forget that mind has never come into direct awareness of an object. There is no proof, therefore, that a separate object exists outside, but the mind habitually assumes it to be there from the beginning. It has in no case seen it directly. What then is the stimulus? This very question involves unconscious assumption that the outside, separate object exists. Those who say we must have previously seen the object in order to form an idea of it, subsequently we reply, did you ever see an object independently of the mind? Is it not the mind that first gave information of the thing, of its qualities? The object, the rays of light, and the whole sensory organ nerve brain process is not known by the mind at the time. It is only imagined afterwards, when it analyzes the way in which its knowledge arises. All the mind really and undoubtedly knows is the picture, the idea which formed itself. All the rest has been imagined by it. All this is itself an idea. The object as cause of an idea is unprovable, but it is assumed by the mind at the very start of the process, it itself remaining unaware that it has started with the assumption. It wrongly takes the separate objects for granted. Whatever else is offered in place of the object as cause, such as God, must also be something unknown and unknowable. For anything known can only be an idea. The mind knows only its own construction. This effectually kills materialism, for no matter is thus findable. Mind alone is. When the nerve vibrations are present, mind knows the thing. When they are not there, the mind is unaware of any object. Hence, a scientific account of sensation and perception is purely inferential, although based on sound facts as far as they are known. We are never conscious of how sense impressions are manifested into perceptions, but we infer the process. The only certain thing is the mind's own activity. If you go on inquiring into the physical process of sensation, your inquiry lands you into thought, the mental process. Science cannot discover the relation between physical and mental for the simple reason that the physical is ultimately mental. It has set on us an artificial, non-existent problem and vainly strives to solve it. So long as duality grips the mind, the latter seeks to establish relations. Hence it tries to find out the relationship between mind and body, a hopeless task. Objective or ontological idealism teaches there is a real outside object of which my mind tells me, and my mind could not form the idea unless the object were there, whereas subjective or epistemological idealism teaches that I do not know whether there's any outside object other than my mind. I neither deny or accept it. I say simply that I do not know. Even if it existed, I still know only what my mind tells me about it. Endure the optic nerve, and although an object is before you, you will see nothing. This is proof that we have the sensation first, and only afterward become aware of the object. When we receive no sensation, we never become aware of the object as in sleep. Why? Because the object is an inference which make from the sensation itself. The fact that objects are inferences drawn from sensation is obscured partly because of the rapidity with which the inference is drawn, and partly because people never stop to inquire and reflect as to what is going on when they see an object, and partly because they do not think matters out to the logical end owing to their innate belief in causality, predisposing them to look for a separate object as the cause of their impression of it. When everything is found to be but mind, whether it be object, seer, senses, nerves, impressions, etc., then all becomes a unity, and there is no room for cause and effect, because there are no two things. The old query, how can a nerve vibration be converted into an idea, has broken down, vanished, as latest science has solved it by saying that the two are not separate, that mind and matter are one. Vedanta said that if we have to recognize the original independent object as being an idea, then the intermediary parts of the sensory process, that is the eye, nerve, brain, must logically be ideas also. What happens, therefore, is that we return to our starting point and discover that the original outside object which gave rise to the sensation is our perception of it, that the thing is the thought perceived. The image seen in the mind was also the object supposed to exist outside and to cause the image to arise. How so? Because we begin with an assumption that there was an object independent of the mind, and we continue to assume that the thought which arose was independent of this object. So finally we have to decide that the object itself must still be there outside. But our initial assumption was unwarranted. It is only our imagination at work, and the truth is that there is no duality of thing and the perceived percept of the thing. Rather, there is only one entity, that is, the thought itself. Much of this confusion has arisen because of the use of the word idea of things, for we habitually believe that ideas are internal and do not grasp that they may be external too, and therefore space is as illusory as matter. The essence of this explanation is that the whole thing is traveling unconsciously in a circle. We start with an idea and end with precisely the same idea. What we start with we call outside object, and what we finish with we call percept. Our illusion lies in thinking the two are different. They are not, but one and the same. The term thought must be used differently from the term idea. A thought is any passing fancy or any feeling or any desire which comes and goes within yourself. An idea is not a thought in the above sense, but a sensation of some object which is apparently outside yourself. Thus you will form an idea of a table, whereas you will have the thought of removing the table from one room of another. Why do we not feel this world to be an idea? Reply, because of the strength of our attachment to the body, of our identification with it, which in turn is due to not having inquired into the nature of the body and discovered its constantly changing nature. We have to take the witness attitude to see the body as a fleeting appearance. Unless you grasp that the world is an idea, there is no other way of proceeding to the higher truth of Vedanta.